host this Pulp Panel. Thanks for everybody for hanging in there with us. We got a great crowd. Some young girls I see, I guess. Chicks dig pulps, is that it? You guys are great. Glad to see you here.
Are those Garcia groups?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I'll say yes.
I didn't see any women at the Zuda panel. That's all I can say. My name is Ed Cato. Let me just run down and introduce our cast of characters here. We've got some very talented folks, very Brooklyn-centric folks. Starting down at the end, we have Derek Ferguson. Derek is a lifelong resident of Brooklyn, New York. You might know him as co-host of Better in the Dark, that's a movie review podcast. But in addition, Derek has also written 3 pulp-influenced novels, including Dylan and the Voice of Odin, Dylan and the Legend of the Golden Bell, and Diamondback. Derek, you've also written a Dan Fowler G-Man story for Airship 27.
Yep.
And then you also work at Pulp Work Press.
Yes, I am. I'm one of the co-founders and one of the editors there.
That's great. So glad to have you here. That's great. And then next to him, we have Adam Garcia. Adam is a Pulp Factory nominee, award nominee, and also the author of the Green Llama novels from Airship 27. Adam, you're also a Brooklyn native as well? Born and raised, that's great, and glad to have you here. Next over, we have Chris Collum. Chris has a hyphenated career, a Park Slope native. He is a art designer / webmaster / cartoonist. And some of the things that he is very involved with is he's been involved with the online presence of Doc Savage, the Spider, not Shadow.
Operator 5,
GA, Operator 5. Since about 1995. He's also the art director. Let me hold up this beautiful book. He's also the art director for Age of Aces, and this is a Spider trilogy that is just beautifully packaged. Great stuff. And then down at the end, we have Mark Heleguea. And Mark,
Heleguea.
That's right. I was going to try and roll over that. Sorry, Mark. Mark Heleguea. Mark is a computer consultant or an information technologist by day, but also he is leader of the Gotham Pulp Collectors Club. How long have you been running that, Mark?
5 years next Saturday.
That's great. That's great. You have luminaries like Robert Lesser.
Ed Hulse. We have other people come by, and Robert Lesser, for those who don't know, has written some books on pulp art and has a large collection of pulp art himself.
Some of which were at the Brooklyn Museum a few years ago.
That's right, the museum, and they're now part of the New Britain Museum of Art, I believe, in Connecticut. And that's where they'll be on a more temporary basis, a more permanent basis.
Yeah. All the Barnes and Noble stuff that we see for pulps is all Robert Lesser's.
Basically, yes. His calendars and the books. In fact, I understand that the book is going to be, once again, in its 4th printing or 5th printing.
That's great. That's great. Now, Mark also he looks to the past, but also to the future. And you have your own character published by Airship 27 as well?
Well, not published yet, but it's coming.
What's his name?
Red Badge.
Oh, great.
If I get access to the internet, I can show you a picture. But the big mystery, because Airship 27 publishes
it's Mystery Men that's coming out. It has Red Badge, all new pulp characters,
correct,
including Red Badge and mine, which is called Doc Doyle, which is sort of like a pastiche on taking the pastiche of Doc Savage.
That's great. When's that book out at?
We don't know exactly. It's going to come out probably in mid 2011. The first issue isn't even out yet, and the thing about Red Badge is he's sort of like a combination of Spider and Shadow. And one thing that he does not hesitate to do is cripple his opponents. He has this knack of shooting them in the elbows, shoulders, knees. He doesn't like them walking around if he can avoid it.
You seem like such a nice guy.
He's my alter ego.
I see. Okay, very good. Well, thank you, panel. We're thrilled to have you all here. As we've gone through KingCon, and now we're here at the last leg of it, it's kind of interesting, all the different genres that we see here. I'd love to know the panelists' point of view is, why is there an interest in pulps, and how does the pulp still survive, especially in a place as diverse as KingCon?
Well, we have to know a little bit of history of pulps. The first pulp was in 1897. I actually wrote a pulp on the show the cover of it. And it was 1896 actually. Frank Wilson gave the first pulp for the paper it was produced on. But the big thing about the pulps is what they did to writing. Up until then, writing was very, what would you call it, delicate? It was flowery. Well, pulps don't give you that. The pulps give you punch in the nose, get ready to get into the story right away, and plotting of that kind of nature. In other words, they get right into it. And anyone else any comments on that? I mean, and that is basically what is happening. I mean, you've got things from Black Mask, stories from Black Mask from authors like Raymond Chandler, Dashiell Hammett, Earl Stanley Gardner, by the way, who created later on Perry Mason. So they were hard-hitting tales, even if they were science fiction. I've got some covers showing on the screen. Those stories are very diverse. But that's what they brought, was the hard-hitting nature, the quick read, and introduced a lot of characters and authors. Tarzan, for example, his first appearance was an all-story, October 1912, Pulp magazine.
Zorro.
And Zorro was 1919.
Yeah. So that visceral nature. Chris, do you have some observations too?
Yeah, I mean, the pulps actually introduced a lot of genres. You know, science fiction started with pulps, and a lot of it really did change writing. And maybe it was because this was for more everyday readers. You know, obviously literacy increased in the early part of the century. The Depression is probably most of the era we're going to talk about here. And those people needed to read something, and pulps really just took off, particularly between wars, between the Great War, World War I and World War II, is when you see the most pulp fiction and the rise of individual characters, who have their own titles, like The Shadow in 1931, Doc Savage and Phantom Detective, and The Spider and G8 in 1933. And this is, again, years before comics, or superhero comics anyway. Remember that the Action Comics #1 with Superman didn't happen until April of 1938. That's a June cover date for those who are picky.
I mean, a lot of genres that we watch today were influenced from the pulps. And we look watching Star Wars, I mean, Avatar is described as one of the pulpiest films in years. So I think that we've always had pulp around, but what I'm seeing a lot now is sort of like, because it's kind of fallen from public domain, people are looking back and saying, oh, this is where our genres, or all things that we can kind of watch on a day-to-day basis are coming from. You know, Pirates of the Caribbean, other films, again, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, the pulpiest character we never get. Even Doctor Who and other characters like that, everything sort of comes from pulp. And I think it's just like we're sort of, because of things falling public domain, we're getting these things out there more, and we're able to see where the origins of our genres are. So, also, we're all learners, so we really think a lot.
There you go. There you go. Derek, you probably have a little different point of view on this.
No, not really different, but I just think that pulp has never really left us, and we've had pulp for quite a while. And okay, back when we had the last Great Depression, that's when pulp had its biggest boom. And then people went home and they bought these dime magazines, and said, oh, I just want to escape for a while. I just want to read about this Superman that can solve all the problems of the world. And now we're in that sort of financial state now, as far as the country. So now we're looking toward heroes that will solve our problems and everything like that. I mean, because if you look at the TV show, okay, 24. What was 24 but just a hour-long weekly Saturday morning serial?
Actually,
that's what it was. It just lets us off on a cliffhanger every week with Jack Bauer, trying to save the world every week. And I think that we just are going back to these classic characters because they solve our problems. They say, okay, here's a problem, we'll fix it. That we can't get from our leaders in real life.
well, the thing, Derek, about 24 is that one of the writers is Manny Cotto, who was a big Up Air 5 pulper.
He's actually a pulp collector.
Yeah. Well,
So he got a lot of, he was influenced definitely by, and directed by those